Yo ho, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Round Table Talk. I am your host C Money, and in today's episode we are going to take a look back into history of South Florida, and we are now going to be doing a walkthrough of the Liberty Square housing projects, also known as the Pork and Bean projects. Of course, this project is history in South Florida because it has so much behind it. Now let me give you a background of it. Like, this area here is been demolished, but we're going to give you a little bit of a background of it. Of course, back in the 1930s, development has started to have an urban area in the Liberty City neighborhood for African Americans, back then Negroes, and they started construction on a housing project. In 1937, the housing project got completed and they started moving people in, which was called the Liberty Square Housing Community, or you want to call it Liberty Square Housing Project, or to us Miamians, it is called the Pork and Bean Projects, but to the trained person, it's the Pork and Bean Projects. And here, as you can see, this is a little wall right here, and across the way there, the wall is a little bit bigger. Now, this wall is here because it was the wall that separated the black people from the white people. And this was a divided wall. Now, I'm quite sure the wall was probably a little bit higher. I know down here the wall was a little bit higher, but it since have been trimmed down to what it is now. Now, these here are the original Liberty Square project housing living units. I didn't know how to really say it. Some were one story like these, and these are two stories. Now, I wanted to do a video of this before they actually demolished all of them, because back in the mid 2000s, around 2010 and so forth, there was plan to revamp this housing community due to a lot of things. Number one, due to the high crime volume, because a lot of crime in Liberty City occurred in this housing community. And number two, to redevelop more updated housing units here, because a lot of these probably been here since the 1930s, or probably since the I know they've been here since the 1970s and the 80s, but a lot of these housing quarters have been here basically since the mid 1900s. And so we're going to walk down this street. This is, see the wall right here. When we was on the corner of Northwest 12th Avenue and 62nd Street, which is also called Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And this is where I believe the people who lived here just recently moved out, because as you can see, there's a lot of furniture and a lot of stuff still in some of these apartments. So these apartments was recently vacant. What ended up happening was that they made plans to renovate and make apartments look just like this. Now, like most Section 8 housing communities, this is another project that's been, remember I did a episode a few weeks back at Gwen Cherry Park, and I told you about the Scott housing community, the Scott housing projects that got renovated, and a lot of the land is still vacant to this day. And I didn't tell you some of the land they use as a parking lot for the park as well. These are the two-story apartments. Now, I knew a few people that stayed in these, and I knew a few people that stayed in the new ones. And I can tell you right now, from my understanding, the newer apartments is a little bit more expensive than the old ones. Now, I don't know if all of the old Liberty Square locations are actually not vacant. I know this was one of the last few locations. Now I'm gonna tell you this, like I said, there are several reasons why. Two of the main reasons is because of the high crime, because this was known. And if you look at YouTube, and there was a music video, well, there were several music videos that were shot here. One of the music videos that caught my eye was a local unknown artist called PM, and he did a song called Paradise Life. Now, Paradise Life, if you look at the video and watch the video, most of the video's content was taped in Liberty City. Like 70% of the video's contents were 70 to 80% of the video's content was taped in Liberty City, and majority of them contents was taped here in the Liberty Square projects, where you can see most of the houses here that was housed here in the project areas. Now we're gonna go up this street, turn, and come around and come back up, because I'm gonna give you a little in-depth behind it. And yeah, like I say, it was most of the content, and it was on the outskirts. Like you'll see where they're driving by on 62nd Street, you can see the outskirts of Liberty Square. I mean, you're not gonna see inside of them and stuff like that, but there are some other videos as well that has been taped in the Liberty Square community, where other rap artists is and stuff like that. It is, now I'm gonna tell you this, it's unknown if there was any celebrity that actually lived here in the Liberty Square projects, but there is a street here in the Liberty Square community projects that is named after one actually known celebrity here. Well, these are still living quarters, so we still have people living over here as well. So you still have people living here. So there are still areas that is still livable, but I'm guessing eventually within another year or two they're going to be pushing them out as well, because it is a known fact, the people who are last to leave an area that's being reconstructed are people that probably was given, like a lot of these people, they're given Section 8 vouchers, because everybody living here is on Section 8, of course, because this is housing. That's one thing. They give them Section 8 vouchers, and they give them the option to go other places. Majority of the time, they move down south to the south area of like Homestead or Florida City or Goose or Cutler Bay or anything of that area. They mostly give them vouchers to go mostly south, because that's where a lot of the more housing communities are at. Because a lot of the projects, housing communities here in the northern part of Miami are being phased out into new housing construction projects, which may be a little bit more costly for them. And some of them probably do still have the option to, you can move into the new ones, or you can go to something that's much cheaper, you know. So it's to the point where a lot of locations like this right here is being preserved, because I was told by somebody I know that this is where they have like a little program at this location. This is why the half of the building is yellow. They have a program here for the people. I'm probably going to show you it. Back to what I was saying earlier, that about the living here. I tried to do my research on if any celebrities or anybody known lived in this area, but there isn't no known factor of anybody living here. But this street here, which is Northwest 14th Avenue, from 62nd Street to 67th Avenue, which is the whole area of the Liberty Square area, it is called the Betty Wright Lane. If you know who Betty Wright is, she is a local musician, R&B singer. See, this is called free classes in art instruction and media production. That's where they house right there. And see, there are more buildings being constructed over here. Yes, so R&B singer and legend Betty Wright. This is called the Betty Wright Lane. So it put in perspective that Betty Wright actually lived in this housing community at one point in her life. Now, there may have been other celebrities that probably lived in this area, but they're not known if you check out Wikipedia, because most of the time when you go on Wikipedia or do your search online, they'll tell you, oh, yeah, it'll tell you celebrities that are from Liberty City, but it won't tell you the celebrities that are from here, the housing project. This here is a daycare center that sits here in the middle of the Liberty Square. This is called the Liberty Square Community Center, the meeting room, the Community Resource Center. The meeting room is straight above, the Community Resource Center is to your right, and the daycare is to your left. Now, this is also, the meeting room is also where you can also go vote at when it's time for voter registration. You know, you can also come here to vote as well, because they do have voter registration here. I mean, not voter registration, but you can come here and vote, because on election days, that's just where people to go. This is not an early voting location, but it is a election day voting when it comes to the primary and the main elections here. Now, these are the new Liberty Square. These started getting built and started housing. This is before COVID. And a lot of these buildings have been revamped into nice community. Now, I was told that our 2-bedroom goes up to $1,300 a month. That's for a 2-bedroom. I had a former coworker that I worked with that stayed here, and their rent was 2 bedrooms was almost up to $1,300. Now, I don't know how much a 1-bedroom is, but I've heard that it could be pretty steep. And probably some people who lived here in the old community over here now lives in the new community, but it is now more safer because they have private security that they have a private security company that does, you know, secure the area. They have a car that goes around and drives around 24 hours, you know, 24 hours, 7 days a week, you know, especially at nighttime. And now these housing have code gates where you can put in the code to get inside the gate, to get in well, the walk-in gate. I don't know about the driving gate. I think the driving gate, you probably have to have a code or a key card as well to get in there. But I know these are code gates where you have to enter the code, and probably by now some of the code gates have probably been rigged up to where you could just walk right in, or somebody broke the code, or like broke the gate or something like that to the point. Now, what was said when they was planning the construction of this was there was also supposed to be a supermarket that was supposed to be here, and then it was supposed to be where you can have access to Wi-Fi for the young people. Now, I don't know if there's really still a plan for a supermarket here, but what I was told in recent numbers is that here's an old Miami-Dade bus stop sign here. What I was told here is that basically there is oh, I didn't know that sign existed here. Yeah, but I was told that the construction had halted because they had ran out of money. And you know, most projects, they go for like that. You know, not a lot of these big projects, they have a lot of, you know, they have plans to build these projects, and then they stop because they end up running out of money, and it ended up being where they can't continue because funds have been detained. Even though this is a county and city project, it, you know, basically they still may not have all the funds and resources to actually continue with things. Now, down this street next to the daycare used to be the office where you made your payments and stuff like that. If you wanted to make your rent payment in Liberty Square, they had an office over here where they're building the new buildings at. But as you can see, the buildings that they're building here looks way different than the buildings that they have built in the back part there. Now, as I say, a lot of these people, like, see, there's arts and residency. They have a lot of these buildings are being reconstructed into different types of buildings. So, and there are people that are still living here, and most of the people that are still living here is probably people who they probably have given them a letter and saying, hey, we are about to do construction within the next couple of months or the next year or two, so you need to start making plans to find another housing situation. And they probably came and said, here's a Section 8 voucher, and some of these, because there are people out here, that there's that saying, when you're the last to leave out of a complex, that means you're one of the people that was paying your bills and you really have nowhere to go, so you're looking for somewhere to go. But if you're one of them people, when they give you a notice and you just up and leave, that means you had somewhere to go. You have someone to stay with and stuff like that, and you was ready for it. You just, but there's that saying that, you have nowhere to go, you have no money or no funding or something like that, or you was paying your bills and you were trying to look for somewhere stable to stay, because I've seen that situation before. So, trying to find see if I can find it. They're coming towards this way. See? Yeah, we're back on 62nd Street and 14th Avenue. And what I was telling you about I want to make sure that the cars are crossing. This is the Betty Wright lane. I was telling you about that, the Betty Wright lane. This is what they had, the Betty Wright lane. We're going to go down this street. Now, the Liberty Square housing project, it starts at Northwest 67th Street on the north end and goes down to Northwest 62nd Street to the south end, and stretches from Northwest 15th Avenue to the west all the way to 12th Avenue towards the east part of Miami. Hello. This is the African Square part, which is also home to the Mega Learning Center, or Educational Center, I should say, which is a premier spot here in a private educational center here in Miami. It's not like a public school or nothing like that. This is a park which also houses the educational center here. Now we're coming up to 15th Avenue, which is the western end of the Liberty Square housing projects, and we're going to go up a little bit towards 15th Avenue. Now 15th Avenue is also a historical area because this is where a lot of events happen. They used to have the Uncle Al Fest here. Remember Uncle Al, if you from Miami, was a local DJ, popular DJ here in the Miami area, and this is where they normally would have the Uncle Al Fest, where they had beautiful things. And also this is 62nd Street, now home, also known as the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We're going to get more into that because we have a part 2 episode that we're going to be doing at a second location that we're going to be doing in Histories in South Florida. This is, I failed to mention that, this is the first part of Histories in South Florida. We're doing, this, and then we have a second part that we're actually doing as well. Now these here are called, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. apartments or manors or corridor. I know they're named after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And see, welcome to the 15th Avenue corridor. This is Reverend Dr. Gilbert S. Smith Avenue. He's one of the pastors of one of the churches that are here on this street. You know, because a lot of, here in South Florida, a lot of known named pastors, like my pastor where I used to grow up in church, the street, that the avenue that his house was, they named it after him. And a lot of these pastors who gave a significant life, or there was some type of, you know, person of known significance here in South Florida, they named a street after them, or they named something after that person. You know, there are a lot of places that we're probably going to be visiting in the future that's been named after significant pastors or city commissions or mayors or anything of that nature, to where you're going to see a lot of that significance. Now, here on 15th Avenue, majority of here, you get a lot of businesses. You get a lot of grocery stores and a lot of mom and pop restaurants. This was a grocery store, and this was called the $2 store, if I'm not mistaken, where, you know, they have groceries and they also have food there. Behind us was the Kirk Barbecue. If you've seen it coming, we had the Kirk Barbecue. We have there's a lot of restaurants that's been in and out here on 15th Avenue. So if you ever been, you know, down 15th Avenue, you know that there are a lot of spots here that, you know, most of these are not historic. I'm gonna give you that. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever be doing a food review for a lot of these restaurants, because most of these restaurants I've never been to and I don't plan on visiting. And not because of any bad significance or nothing like that. It's just that, you know, it's some of these restaurants that, you know, I only visit restaurants that I've been to and I have reviews. I've been to one restaurant here in the past. There's one restaurant here that I've been to that sits here at the end of 15th Avenue. And the end of 15th Avenue, it ends at 71st Street. And there's a restaurant called Miracles. And I visited that. It's a great place. One day I'll probably do a review with them. They're not a eat-in. They're mostly a order and take-out restaurant, meaning that you got to go there and order. You can't go online to order food. You can't get it delivered by DoorDash or anything of that. You have to go there, order the food, and out the door. So right now we're going to turn off of 65th Street, and I'm going to give you show you some of the apartments here on 65th Street, and then from 65th Street we're gonna, you know, probably head out. Now these housing projects have been here, like I said, since the 1930s. They opened up in 1937, but a lot of the housing here probably got revamped throughout the years before they started doing the new construction of the Liberty Square. Like I said earlier, we, the South Floridians, call this the Pork and Bean Projects. Well, it is known to be called the Pork and Bean Projects, but it is known around as the Pork and Bean Project. But for us South Floridians, we call it the Pork and Bean Projects, you know. And we are known, and this has been known for its high crime and everything of the nation. Now we're coming on the other side of the community center, and I'm going to show you the back side of the community center, which I've had the pleasure of entering a few times back, you know. But as of now, it still sits a community center. Now I don't know if this actually community center is still going to actually be here when they actually create, you know, when they actually finish building the rest of the Liberty Square project. So I don't know. Yeah, this is called Residential and Educational Service Hub for the Mega Solutions. I mean, this is like a community hall too, like a community hall too. Like I said in the first, youth helping hands, youth centers right there. There are a lot of resources in here, to helping hands stay connected and things like that. We are now here back on 14th Avenue and 65th Street. Now I've been doing a walk around the area for a minute to give you an in-depth look of how the area looks. And I can tell you right now, from what it is, it has evolved over the years. Like I say, they have new housing, it's supposed to be affordable housing, which I don't know if it's really affordable to most people. It has now 24-hour amped up security for, more. It's not private, it's private security. It's not police. Even though, although the police do visit the area, but they have, regular, security, private security that do frequent the area because of, they trying to keep the crime down. And that's one of the reasons why they wanted to condemn these projects here in South Florida, because a lot of these housing projects have over the limit crimes, and they're trying to keep a lot of the crimes from these housing areas down to the point where they don't want a lot of crime here, and they're trying to keep crime out because there have been a lot of, people got killed here. There have been several, there have been people that have been injured. Some have died, some have got killed. People have got robbed to the point where, there's like enough is enough. We need to stop with these crimes. And one of them, a story that is close to me, it's not really close, but somebody that I knew had a relative of theirs got killed in the area. And this was way before they ended up starting to do the changes to the community and started closing down these projects and started building these housing communities, to the point where now it's getting to the point where, hey, let's go. As you saw earlier, there was a police car which is still over there, and he's parked over there. I don't know if there's an actual police car in there, but I know every now and then you will see a police car in the area of this place to give you an in-depth of, okay, this is what's going down and this is what's happening. So you'll know that, hey, this is a community park, areas who, we still got to protect this area regardless of what's going on, because we still have people that live here. And even though crime has went down a lot since the revamping of the Liberty Square community projects, it still is that we still have to protect the area, because now you have more people moving in. You have, Caucasian people, Hispanics, Latin, you have African Americans that, have never lived in the area. I told you once before, I had a former coworker of mine who used to live on the northern part of Miami that moved in, when they first started building it. They moved in and gave me an in-depth of a 2-bedroom, cost you about $1,300. I'm like, you gotta really be having a nice, good paying job. I thought this was like a housing type thing where it goes by your picture, but apparently maybe yes, maybe no, so that's another factor you gotta weigh out when it comes to things like this. So now we're gonna take a last walk through the area. So now we're almost at the end of our video, so I just want to give you an in-depth look of this. I'm going to cross the street so we can get a understanding of the area here. So this is the Liberty Square community, which is also called the Liberty Square housing community, which is also can be called the Liberty Square projects, which is also could be called the Pork and Bean projects, or it could be called the Poke and Bean projects. I've visited both of these. Remember, I knew some people that stayed in these the Liberty Square old community, and I've been inside, and then I've been inside the new ones because I had, like I told you, a former coworker of mine stayed there, and I went to a housewarming party there, and it was nice and everything to the point. So I know how it looks. So it's nice, It's sad to see history is changing, because it's like you're taking away the history of life. If you want to know more, you can check out, I'm quite sure there's videos of the Liberty City, old neighborhood. Also, like I said, check out the hip-hop artist PM. You got to put in PM and then Paradise Life. Don't just put in PM, because PM is going to give you several other acquisitions. It's going to give you PM Dawn, or it's going to give you PM as the nighttime version of AM PM. It's going to give you certain things, so you want to actually put PM in there so you can actually get PM. So yeah, so this is it. This is the Liberty Square housing. If you want to know, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or you can email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. You can also comment at the bottom of this page as well. If you've ever lived in these projects and have memories of it, or if you've ever been to these projects and have memories of it, you can also comment as well and give me your feedback of this, because I would like to hear from people who have had any knowledge of these housing projects. And if you know any celebrities or anybody well known that used to stay in these projects, I would love to hear from you as well too, to know who lived in this community and stuff. So this is the Roundtable Talk. This is part 1. Part 2, we're going to be taking a trip further west to another place in Maine. It's not really history, but it's somewhat history. But this is the Roundtable Talk. I'm your host, C Money. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay hydrated. I'm going to give me a drink before I head on to part 2. And I'll see you in the next episode coming up.